Last episode, we discussed the warming relations between Iran and the West. While it's not yet a fully fledged love affair, other countries in the Middle East aren't too pleased, particularly Saudi Arabia, America's closest regional ally. But as you'll find out today, the country itself is no saint. Hello and welcome to In Focus. Humans have lived in the area for 20,000 years, but it was around 570 that the region first came to international prominence with the birth of the Prophet Muhammad in Mecca. The area became known as the cradle of Islam and the first center of the Arab Empire. The region continued to transform over the next 1,000 years, but was mainly broken up along tribal lines until Abdul Aziz bin Saud came along, first conquering his family's ancestral city of Riyadh, then spending the next 30 years conquering nearly all of Central Arabia. In 1932, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was formed. Relations with the US began a year later. On the surface, they're strange bedfellows, a secular democratic republic teaming up with an ultra-conservative Islamic absolute monarchy with a history of human rights abuses and state-sponsored terrorism. More on that later. In 1938, oil was discovered and the two special friends grew even closer. The US and Saudi Arabia would go on to share many common interests and goals, including opposition to communism, stable oil prices, and stability in Western economies, where Saudi Arabia had invested heavily. Like all close mates though, they had their disagreements. Some of them have included the state of Israel, aspects of the 1973 oil crisis, the Iraq War, and Saudi Arabia's post-9/11 influence. Let's expand on that last point. One of Saudi Arabia's defining contributions to the rest of the world is the rise of Wahhabism. It was founded by and named after Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab, who wanted to take Islam back to what he believed were its roots. The result? An ultra-conservative fundamentalist view on an already conservative and fundamentalist religion. It's nothing new. Al-Wahhab was around in the mid-1700s, but once oil was discovered, Saudi Arabia was propelled to superpower status and its influence was shared across the globe. It's tough to work out just how many adherents to Wahhabism there are. Some estimate the number to be around 5 million. So how does 0.006% of the world population affect you so significantly? Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, 9/11, Al-Shabaab and the Nairobi shopping mall attack, Boko Haram and the abduction of 276 schoolgirls in Nigeria, Hezbollah and the 1998 US embassy bombings in Kenya, Jemaah Islamiyah and the Bali bombings, then of course ISIL or Daesh, and the atrocities that continue to be carried out in Iraq and Syria. Just some of the terrorist organizations around the globe associated with the Wahhabi movement. Followers, also known as Salafis, are so fundamental in their view that even other Muslims that reject Wahhabism are apostates or abandoners of Islam open to be executed. It's certainly true that most of those affected by terrorist attacks across the world, particularly in Africa and the Middle East, are fellow Muslims. Let's talk about 9/11 for a second. Two of the attackers were from the UAE, one was from Egypt and another from Lebanon. The remaining 15 were all Saudi Arabian nationals, backed by Al-Qaeda, founded by the infamous Osama bin Laden. Now, bin Laden himself came from an unfathomably rich family. Like seriously wealthy. The Saudi bin Laden group grosses around $2 billion a year, and its latest project is constructing the Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia, soon to be the world's tallest building. It's also connected with the innermost circles of the Saudi royal family. Coincidence? Perhaps, but when it comes to state-sponsored terrorism, Saudi Arabia is one of the worst culprits. Former CIA Director James Woolsey described Wahhabism as the soil in which Al-Qaeda and its sister terrorist organizations are flourishing. The country is accused of financing Wahhabi mosques across the globe, potentially, or probably, increasing the chances of terrorist attacks. Hillary Clinton herself thinks Saudi Arabia is instrumental in funding global terrorism, signing a 2009 document that stated, "Saudi Arabia remains a critical financial support base for Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, LET, and other terrorist groups. So what now for Saudi Arabia? Well, it has a new king, Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. He's still very close with the US, despite a horrific human rights record. In February 2012, a 17-year-old boy was sentenced to crucifixion for encouraging pro-democracy protests. In February last year, a man was sentenced to death for rejecting Islam. In the fight against the Syrian government, they're openly backing the Army of Conquest, a rebel group that includes links to Al-Qaeda and a Salafi coalition. They remain an unlikely Western ally, but progress towards democracy and away from terrorism is slow. With the increased strength of Iran and its willingness to work more closely with the Western world, Saudi Arabia is worried. Its conservative Sunni beliefs are in stark contrast with Iran's conservative Shia beliefs, and in the world's most volatile region, another power dispute is far from ideal. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.